let's look at the multiple types of clients that can walk across the API. You may have already watched the video on navigating the API. So let's start with a graphical user interface, a rich interface that is able to walk the API and display it. Here's a familiar one. It's the to-do list from To-Do MVC. It's already got 3 to-do items in the to-do list. We can do everything that you expect. We can edit them. We can add new ones. Once it's added to the list. We can complete them. And we can delete them. Also, we can paste that and start with that as the starting point and always start by showing that list. Likewise, we also have client-side filters. We should be able to cut and paste our client-side filter. So I'll go back to active, put completed in, press return, loads the page, and it gives us back the view completed client-side. So now let's look at some of these interactions with the underlying requests going on. Turn on developer tools. Let's press refresh. We can see that it's loading up the root of the API, going to me. It then loads up the list collection, and then it loads up all of the to-do, each of the to-dos. If we create a new one, we'd see that the form is in fact already eagerly loaded. It then does a post and then a get. The post returned to 201. If we're doing an update, which would be clicking the completed, likewise gets the edit form and then does a put. And a delete just does a simple delete. Let's now see how we would delete multiple items in a collection or a batch process. In fact, we do them one by one. In this case, the clear completed option will complete all tags, all lists, all items that are completed. And notice we see then two deletes, and it's removed from the collection. Finally, let's just come back to the idea that there's one list only. If we're in the admin section, it's able to load up how many your tenants, load up the lists, and at this stage, the user interface is such that if you come in on the root, it knows if you've only got one tenant, one list, it automatically redirects. We'll look at this later on after we've created a new shopping list and tenant. So now let's go and have a look at the API and get a recap there. So back at the API, it traverses the me link, then went into to-dos to find how many lists. We've got one list. And in the list, we've got two further recursive to-dos on our shopping list. Our shopping list now currently only has one item because we deleted the others. And here is our tagged list. And in this case, the user interface, the rich one, didn't know anything about tags. So it just can ignore any of that information. Let's go back up to the root and look at this through tenants. So back at the root, we could see that the tenants that are available for this user is the one called rewire. And in rewire, it then provides us with a list of to-dos, which gives us, we're back at our shopping to-do list. Likewise, let's go back up to the root and come back through me to my user. I could then navigate to the tenants available, and we'll see that it again is rewire. So there's lots of access points back to different resources. What we're not talking about is how they are homed around the construction. And in this case here, there's an implicit construction that the tenant is in the context of a user. So back up, go into me, go into my to-dos, and we could create a new to-do on this list with a create form. Here's our new one. We're going to give it an open state, give it a date, submit it. Go back to the collection, we see that we now have a new item in the collection. If there's anything unfamiliar there, go back to the video on navigating an API. It'll give you more information around the forms. So let's now move on to the last client. The last client is an administrative provisioning type client. So from our to-dos, we can press the admin button. And this brings us into the admin view as part of the app. This client's quite different to the others, and probably best if we have developer tools turned on so we can see what's happening. What it does is, at some level, very simple. It allows us to drag and drop data, a network of data, and either make updates or clone it. What we'll do first is clone it. And what we're going to do is we first load up we drag it, and this loads up the network of data. You can look down the right, and you saw that as I did a drag, it then went and hydrated the network of data. It got the user, the to-do lists, all of the to-dos, and the tags. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it onto an organization. So I'm going to take one, and I'm going to remove some context of its name and make it unique and drop it in the context of the root. And we should see that it clones itself. So what it's doing there is it's then comparing one version against the other version. And what we now see is that we have two versions available. If I go into it, the shopping list now has new items. If I go back to admin and I go back to the original shopping list, it's now a different shopping list. So that's an example of how to clone a network of data. And this is really useful when you're moving data between environments, for instance. What I also want to show is how we can use it to update existing data. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to drag this data to the desktop and to take a copy as JSON. So I dragged to the desktop, and it created a file called rewire.json. Rewire being the name attribute. After dragging out the rewire tenant to a JSON file on the desktop, I then can open it in an editor. This shows me the JSON structure. I then actually can edit this, drag it back on, and it will make the updates. Let's go for the list. We'll put list, put a whole lot of X's in there, and we'll change one of the to-do items. We'll take it 3 to do, and we will take off the tags. Save that, and then we'll drag it back onto the client. Here we go, drag it on to the rewire, and watch it do a whole lot of processing. It does the matching. It's able to do some updates. Notice the list is now updated. And if we go into the list, we have the updated 3 to do with the name tag. Hopefully that gives you an idea of the 3 different clients that you can write to walk across an API.